When being as big a fan of JRPGs as I am, I can't deny that I wouldn't mind reading something repetitive in structure that harks back to the dungeon crawling formula that I'm used to. Goblin Slayer fills the hits perfectly through its no bullshit approach to a typical fantasy setting. This manga is what it says in the tin, following a man who only kills goblins out of hatred for them that's rooted into his backstory. Goblin Slayer is a curveball to the cliché characters and generic world building usually seen in a manga like this, with some extremely graphic scenes that are emphasised through the typically safe setting we're in. The first chapter introduces us to your standard party of adventurers, with safe designs complementing the archetypes they have. The confident, cocky one, full of ambition, talks about how easy a job fighting goblins will be, but when in their stronghold things take a turn for the worst. Murder and rape contrasted with the wide-eyed beginnings of the characters shown in backstories made this a difficult read because of just how well executed the climax of the chapter is. This manga manages to quickly show that despite its uninspired setting, it has a lot to offer beyond just being a bloodbath, as the mangaka knows how to make violence work. The threat of goblins and the necessity of the slayer is made clear in chapter 1, with the drive of this man being one of the main appeals. Everything but goblin slaying is completely disregarded in his mind, and it's refreshing to see this straightforward approach which has some funny interactions with those around him while also being terrifying when it counts. He's normally a calm person, surprisingly considerate to his party members, but certain dialogue or his general manner during fights stand out as showing a glimpse of the deep anger burning within him, making him rather enigmatic at times. A lot of people care for him and have been helped by his deeds, and this adds to the tragedy of his character. He kills goblins every day with no remorse and with relative ease, but his hatred for these creatures is so ingrained that he won't rest as long as there are some left in the world. Through the battles, the manga makes it clear that this self-destructive path of his will come to an end sooner or later, either due to his death or injury, and the question arises of what Goblin Slayer will do if he can't kill goblins. Brief moments of tranquility with his childhood friend hint at the possibility of a life beyond this bloodshed, and the main goal of the series shifts to trying to get Goblin Slayer to move on. This is important as it gives the manga a sense of progression despite the main character's repetitive tendencies and allows for depth beyond his initial appeal. The story isn't too far in, only 18 chapters, albeit longer than usual at about 36 pages since it has monthly releases. Regardless, Goblin Slayer's character arc has been established well and the manga's strengths have been evident from the beginning. There's some great action here with enough variation between each seemingly repetitive slog through goblin territory to keep my interest, also managing to further characterize our stoic Goblin Slayer. I'm very interested to see where this goes, and hopefully you are too.